Again, Brittany, for some reason, is not cognizant enough to just say this directly and firmly and to correct the narrative that is unfolding in front of us. She was in that room. She shares the room with Janet. She was there. She was witnessing that. She acknowledged that it was awkward. If she was just more assertive in that moment and said that that is not what happened, Janet and Jason had a whole back and forth because Janet did not want to come, I would respect her more.
Neither Danny was present over there, neither Jasmine was present over there. But Kristen was no party to this. Janet was no party to this, are talking about this, and their personal enmity on the base of other people is very repulsive to me. You're fighting wars, you don't like each other, but the point on the basis of which you're fighting is on the expense of two completely different people who are actually being slaughtered because of this. Hey guys, welcome to B-Side Reality. We are Panda.
And Issel, and we are a couple who can't get enough of reality TV.
This channel is our space to dissect the drama, the chaos, and the wild moments
From our favorite shows, and hopefully yours too.
So grab a snack
Settle in,
and let's dive in.
Hello, everyone. It has been some time. We did really want to record 2 separate episodes to cover the last 2 episodes of The Valley, but it's been busy.
It's been a minute.
Yeah, so today is a 2-parter. We are covering episode 12 and 13 today. Ooh, I guess like outside of The Valley, something that I did want to talk about is Sheena has admitted to the fact that Brock has been unfaithful to her, and when she was pregnant with Summer, he actually cheated on her.
It's like social media, like some podcast where she showed up and...
I think there's some kind of magazine where she was interviewed, and I was reading about this on Reddit. Okay, I'm not really doing my research here, okay? I'm just telling you guys what I read, and the comments on Reddit were talking about how she is potentially launching a book. I don't know if that's confirmed. Just the way that the article was structured and the kind of details that she was giving, it feels like she's trying to say, oh my god, look at the interesting things I have to share about my personal life. You know, tune in for more or something. But I know with the conversation on Reddit that there were some people who were like, I guess, indifferent to Sheena experiencing infidelity. And then there were some people who were like, my god, like, you know, Sheena is still a human being and we should care and stuff.
Obviously, as human beings, our first reaction would be to empathize and care for the person who goes through something like this, and we wish that nobody in our circle should ever be in that situation. Okay, we'd never wish this for our worst enemy, kind of thing, you know. Nobody should go through something like this. But fact is that, like, they're together, right? They're together, they have a baby, they have a family, and coming out publicly like this, you're basically putting yourself for public judgment, right? Like, it's like putting yourself for like what is wrong, what is right. Then even if you're living life like a normal couple, but people are going to lynch him and they're going to say that why you're having this worst kind of person in your life when you could have left him long ago. It's not like it's a forgivable thing, right? It's not a petty thing, right? It's much more severe, and it directly attacks the very foundation of any relationship. And if you're putting it out like this, what you're scared of him to confront him and do something about it, and you want public support, like, is it like you need people to stand by you so that you can do something about it? What are your intentions?
Yeah.
Or you are just using this as a clout and a leverage to gain some momentum for whatever your next endeavor is. Like, you're in the chart, people are talking about it, you're the hot selling product, and you're going to use this as steamroll your things, right? What is it? So these things makes me feel like I don't know how to react to this. Like,
Yeah, I don't have answers to that. I don't know if there are answers and I just haven't done my due diligence here. However, I do resonate with that question of just like, where do we go from here? Are they separating? How do you move forward? Putting that out into the open. You are going to persist through this marriage because, I don't know, maybe you're very religious and divorce doesn't like exist in your vocabulary. You're just never going to do that.
but she has been divorced.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so she does not. Oh my god.
And divorce Shay.
Yeah, Shay.
Because he struggling with addiction issues and stuff. which created a big rift in their relationship and subsequently led to divorce.
I mean, it's different too, like to have a child as well. Say what you will about Sheena. In some ways, it's like she has kind of sold her soul because this is the man that she's ended up with. We're going to be talking about this shortly, but from what we've seen in the Valley this season, she is doing a good job of maybe opening up opportunities, opening doors for herself into the show. And so she is playing it really well. If further doors are open because she's putting her life on blast in this way, even though potentially in the future Summer will learn about all these details. I don't want to say it's commendable, but it is something. Anyways, though, jumping into the Valley, we last talked about how the episode 11 was kind of building up to an explosive scene between Aaron and Jesse because we knew that they were going to have a talk at that dinner in Hawaii. Before we go into that conversation, at the dinner table, we have Kristen and Nia discussing Janet's apology, and it doesn't seem that Kristen is buying the apology. She was the one Janet was yelling at during the El Coyote dinner, and Janet hasn't apologized to her yet. And in her confessional, Kristen says that she wishes Janet would just acknowledge that she can be a shitty person and start things to be drama for everyone else. I think that does resonate. Like, I have the same frustration, and looking back on the past 2 seasons, I think if Janet wasn't on such a high moral ground, I wouldn't be so bothered because it's all just on the table. I can respect it if that is her game because that's reality TV. It's just being messy and bringing up drama for other people. But her being so self-righteous, it's just hard to cheer for her because she's a mean person, and I don't have any moments where I can think she's charming and funny and
somehow she choose to take up sides
yeah,
of
like
people. Like, I don't know, like, why she does what she does, why she poke her nose into things. I'm always right and I'm always like side of the good, right?
But she's not though. Like, I don't even think she's really sticking up for other people. Like, other people, I see them being pulled into it because they seem to have a strong connection with Janet. Like,
she has 3 friends and one of them is not yet in the show: Sheena, Michelle, and Brittany.
I think she is actually legitimately friends with Jasmine, Brittany, Kristen. Things are changing now with this show. And yeah, I just think about like all the previous characters and cast members that we've seen in Vanderpump Rules. We've had Stassi, Sandoval, Schwartz, etc. And I had problems with a lot of them. At the same time, every time I had a confessional scene from them, it was hard not to be charmed. It was hard not to laugh at what they were saying. Like, they were just interesting people, and maybe that makes it easier for me to like dislike Janet, that she's just not a likable person, on top of her just being so self-righteous when she is herself messy. And
even Jax in Vanderpump Rules,
yeah, I struggle.
right? You may not agree with him what he does, or you may not approve his actions, but still you do not skip the scenes when he's in front of the camera, right? You want to see what he's going to do. He has that effect on people, right? You love to hate him, right?
Yes. You know, in some ways, I think I like to hate on Janet too. It's just really easy. But I just wish that she brought more so that I could question myself sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
We now have Aaron and Jesse sitting down to talk. Jesse doesn't like that on Father's Day, Aaron had posted a picture of himself with Isabella. Aaron says that it slipped his mind. They were just having a really good day that day, but he did realize at some point that that's not right, and so he took that picture down.
Jesse always gives good rationals. I don't know how. He's very eloquent in explaining things about situations. He's very clear, and I've told this million of times before that we don't get the full picture. We get a minuscule snippet of what is really happening in their lives, right? Whatever they choose to produce and show it as a show. So I'm not sure what's happening exactly, but the way he explains any situation, I always tend to agree with him. I don't know. He has that effect on me, I'm telling you.
I get that too. And again, we're not parents here. I am, though, sensitive to anyone who puts their children out there on social media. And these are not just regular people on social media. These are public figures as well. And so, you know, I'm not a parent, but I can understand that, like, it's even worse to have your child and, like, just what is the story out there that people are thinking when they see this picture and there's another person. My voice, I realize, carries a lot less weight right now because I'm not a parent and I am not Isabella's parent. So
what I wanted to say is that as long as he's not talking shit and calling names, he tends to be quite rational and matured enough to explain what his actions were about. But still, I would have understand as a father if I'm put in that situation. Like, end of the day, he's the biological father, and
Yeah.
he has the say in this 50% as much as the mother has. Okay, so, and this person just getting into the life of a child should
Differ.
right. So it has to be a joint effort between the parents, original parents, and the new person getting into the life of the kid, right? So
Agreed. We've discussed this in a previous episode, but I remember there was a scene with Lala talking to Jesse, and in the after show at least, they talked about how, oh, like, I recognize a narcissist, right? Like, I know how dangerous they are. I don't know. Do we know any narcissists in real life? Because I feel like Panda and I, we just don't know. We are seeing this, we are hearing Jesse, and we're like, good point, bro. Like, what you guys say?
Yeah,
and Aaron understands.
He is self-obsessed. He has, like, he always tries to make a situation all about himself. So yeah, no doubt, but most of us do behave like that, and still they can behave as normal people. You know that energy, like you're the number one guy in the group. They all give that vibe, to be honest.
I can't though, because it's a reality TV show. You're there to be entertaining for someone. So I appreciate that energy.
Yeah.
In real life,
No,
I don't
not
know
so
what
much.
that means. Like, I don't know what it means to be with a narcissist who I don't know what that looks like in my everyday and how that takes away from me. So that is the caveat that we I guess we see Jesse's point. I can't argue against it. And does anyone have anything to say against Jesse at this point? Because it's all coming up as like rational.
Yeah.
Anyways, they quickly move on to the next topic because, again, Aaron is very much like, I understand. This is what Jesse has been trying to understand this entire season. Did Aaron and Michelle cross any line while Jesse was still married to Michelle? Whether that's emotional or physical? Aaron says no. And there were a couple of texts to get coffee and then to invite Michelle to a place where he was selling honey, but he insists that they did not cross the line. In the moment, Jesse does accept what Aaron says. And he says it's time to let it all go, and this trip is the perfect time for them to figure out how they all move forward together. But in his confessional, we do know that he still believes that they did cross a line. I don't know. He mentions the fact that if they hadn't crossed the line, why would Michelle already have a boyfriend 2 weeks after them separating when she's still living in the house with him?
Basically, he has made his mind that this has already happened. That narrative is not going to change in his mind. Okay, that's always going to be there. He just want to see if there is any open confessions about it. Like, are they going to confess? Are they going to, because now they have separated and all, there's nothing to hide and they're openly in a relationship, are they going to divulge any information and all? And I don't think they both have any malice about each other. At least the thing is still about Michelle and Jesse. Aaron is acting quite neutral in this.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Jesse did have some malice and now he's choosing to let it go.
Didn't get any provocative things from Aaron, so he has no way to pursue it any further.
Yeah, I kind of just want to quickly go over this. Later in the episode, we have Jesse hanging out with Aaron and Jason, and he again repeats that he feels a certain way and he wants to move forward because Isabella loves Aaron now too. And
one interesting thing I want to add at this point, at this juncture, if you remember, Jesse received a call from Jax. So Jax is already feeling FOMO, although he voluntarily withdraw himself from this trip, but still he's keeping tab of what is happening.
yeah, like he was saying that, like, I'm not gonna call Michelle, I don't remember, but it was just like a cheater or whatever. And yeah, he just wants to make sure that they all kind of move forward together. While I wish the best, I hope the best for all of them with their co-parenting, the one thing I hope is that Jesse doesn't bring up these feelings on TV, because him saying like, I won't call you this and this and this anymore is still basically reminding everyone that that's what you think, even if your way of phrasing it is, I'm not calling you this anymore. So the next day, Janet, Brittany, Jasmine, Melissa, Aaron, and Michelle are at the pool, and they're talking about a coyote, and Janet is explaining to Aaron why it got so explosive. And she says that there's a group that every time the heat is on them, suddenly there are these made-up rumors that get thrown out. Jason was a victim with the ring rumor. Aaron and Michelle were the victim of it at some point. And then we also see a flashback where Kristen is meeting Aaron for the first time, time, and she mentions Jenna. And so Janet says this is all a deflection, and Kristen doesn't want to take any accountability with why Jenna is around. And she just wants Kristen to own this and say that I purposely brought this person around because I don't like Michelle and I want to ruin her life. So I'm really glad that we did get those flashbacks, because if we're going to take it at face value, Janet and Kristen are essentially saying the same thing, okay? They both want accountability from each other because honestly, they both cause drama for other people. They say things and then other people have to deal with the repercussions. The Jason rumor, though, we did address that way early in the season and they supposedly moved forward with that. Jenna and Aaron saying, hi, Aaron, you know my friend, that is just not the same thing as bringing that person around. And we know already that Jasmine is the one who invited Jenna to the field day event, and Jenna has close friendships with multiple people in the group, including Zack, Sheena, and Kristen. But Janet, she won't give 1 inch anywhere, even though there's camera footage to show all of these inconsistencies and lies. Correct. So again, it is so hard to like Janet because I am seeing and hearing things and you want to tell me or challenge that, but I am seeing it, okay?
In the same event, the point Janet made that even when Michelle was introducing Aaron to Kristen said that, you're Jenna's friend, right? I know Jenna and stuff like that. And in her defense, she said that, because I knew Jenna before even I know you. And Jenna has introduced Aaron to me before even meeting you guys, right? So I already knew Jenna and Aaron, about Aaron and Jenna. So that's how I reacted. Like, makes sense, right?
I agree.
When you meet somebody and you know them through a common friend, so you have that idea, do you know her? Because I am her friend and something like that. You try to make that connection, right?
I've met you before. Oh my god, oh shit, sorry, yeah, you were dating my friend Jenna.
Right?
Sorry, Michelle. So I feel like it could have been as innocent as that, but it's being blown up into like, you are bringing Jenna into this group.
Vindictive way of...
They're giving her way too much credit. Like, again, maybe Sheena is really deserving of, like, a spot in this show. Because that is her. They were literally wearing matching outfits for that field day event. Like, yeah, it's just so crazy. And I get so frustrated here because it's like, how... I want to hear someone acknowledge this, that, you're upset at Kristen, but literally everyone in this group has a tie to her. And Sheena is also bringing her around. Do you have any responses to that?
I think Jasmine invited Jenna
she did.
to that field day event. And she said, it all happened before El Coyote. So there is no way I could say that, you're not supposed to come to the event. I've already invited her. So.
But, like, if you are friends with Michelle, El Coyote doesn't even need to happen, right? Because, Michelle is now dating Aaron. She's not comfortable with Jenna. You don't need El Coyote to happen.
Correct.
Anyways... We are now on the day of the proposal. First thing we see is Zack in his room with Benji and the shirts that he's packed with Kristen and Luke's faces. Kristen and Luke join them shortly, and Kristen doesn't feel like showering, and everyone is taking a moment to process. You can see it happening.
Kristen was like, why should I shower? Right? I'm going for fishing and it's humid and it's hot. I'm not going to be fresh. I have to go to a dinner afterwards. So why not have a shower after the boat?
It all makes sense, right? But unfortunately, there is like a huge engagement coming up, and like everything that we're seeing kind of implies that really all of this is a surprise for her. But yeah, like everyone in that room trying to process this and how to handle this, it was just so funny.
And it was like, no, you have to shower, for photographs. And Nia became the savior, like, yeah, we need to have photographs. And Kristen like, okay. They're acting a little suspicious, but Nia always wants to have a lot of photographs, but I'll go and listen to Nia. So yes. They all relied on Nia to save them because they have nothing substantial to explain.
Yes, so we learned about that in the after show, not necessarily in the show itself. I was not able to re-watch the after show. For some reason, it is not accessible online. So I can't revisit that, can't show you guys any scenes from that. But we learned how Nia had to push in a very subtle way to get Kristen to shower and get all cute. And she made it so that like she bought her stuff into Kristen's room and was like getting ready in there and just kind of just making sure that Kristen was following her lead. And then we get to the boat and they have a bit of fishing. It's nearing sunset and that's when Luke wants to propose. So they're trying to get Kristen to like the helm or something of the boat, like a particular point
Yeah.
the boat. Kristen is
Edge
just
of the
like,
boat.
yeah, and Kristen is just not feeling cute and she's just taking time to get ready. And Luke is also not ready because like they're running out of time, but unfortunately Kristen is like sitting on the ring. Oh, and like everyone is really trying to push Kristen without like forcing it. And finally she steps out and Nia asks Kristen to take photos of her and Danny. Luke goes and grabs the ring and then it's their turn to take pics. As they're getting in place, Danny calls out that there's dolphins off in the distance. Luke then steps out so that Kristen can get a better view. And as she's turned around looking, Luke gets on one knee and he tries to get Kristen's attention. She's still looking for dolphins. And as he's talking about how they've had some awesome adventures, she finally turns around and she is shocked and she's like, what the fuck? Luke asks if she will be the catch of his lifetime and she says yes.
That was really funny, romantic, in a funny and quirky way. It was like there is some sense of normal. It didn't feel like a celebrity kind of thing, so devoid of lack and luster, but has a beauty of its own. In a the simplicity, the mere simplicity of it is really heartwarming. It was nice. Somehow I felt really happy about it. It felt like a happy ending,
Yeah.
and we wish all the best and everything good to Kristen and Luke
Yeah.
for this new start. As I've already said before, I'm really rooting for these guys.
I really liked it. I loved it. The chaos building up to this and knowing just all the work and effort again with like trying to get her to shower and stuff. It just makes it all so perfect. And seeing Danny and Nia as well in the back, just taking photos and videos, like they are so genuinely happy for them. And it's a great moment. It's a real heartfelt moment. I did feel it was a core memory for the four of them. And I was telling you, even for me, it was a core memory. It struck me. I am excited for Kristen and it was a really great moment. So back on the island, Zack is leading charge with getting everyone together and everything in place. He and Benji have the presidential suite with Jesse, but they're packing up to switch with Kristen and Luke. And it's funny because Kristen and Luke actually like unpacked all their shit and like put it into the actual like furniture that the room was furnished with. As they're moving things, Jesse is unexpectedly there in the presidential suite and Zack now has to share what's going on. Jesse doesn't even react to the room changes, the room assignment changes. He just wants to get flowers and to set up a romantic scene. And you know, we've heard before that he's not doing well financially and doesn't have money, but I like the energy that he brought to that.
He scored a few brownie points in my book because of that, because that was priceless. He was genuinely happy. He was genuinely want to be a part of this special event in their life and wants to do something and contribute something in some way to make this more special. So it was really entertaining and feel good vibe you get from his reaction, because his face the moment he saw, like, really, wow, like that was
it's heartwarming. It's moments like these where I'm just like, this guy is a narcissist. Like, this is a guy who is bad and awful and dangerous. Like,
see, people can take this as a different takeaway, like, oh, now you want to have flowers and this and that, you want to make this moment about yourself, not about them. See, you can dissect it in whatever way you want to. I choose to see the good thing in it.
yeah, maybe we're just both naive, but like I just
yeah, but some people can dissect it in a different way and find something else. Like, oh, you want to
yeah.
be your thing, your name stamped on it, like Jesse arranged for 1,000 hibiscus petals.
We're open to seeing more here because we've both acknowledged that like we're seeing glimpses and the glimpses have been kind of like redeeming for Jesse. We're open to seeing whether it gets worse. We could shift, you know, we could be seeing more of that in the future. So for now though, like
It's all glitters.
yeah. Especially in the light of just knowing how the next two episodes are with how everyone is reacting and engaging with the news and the engagement. Jesse's attitude here is just like such a sad out moment.
Maybe it's Luke may have given this task of making things happen in Maui on Danny and Nia, but I could see Zack doing a lot of legwork in making things work, arranging stuff, like sweating and tirelessly working with the management of the resort to organize the fire show, the dinner, the welcome thing, the this, that, changing of rooms, allocation of this and that. Like, I could see a lot of legwork from. I said this because Luke never confided to Zack to help him in any way in front of camera. He
Mm.
only delegated all this everything
Yeah.
to Nia and Danny, but somehow he's also involved and he's doing things that popping out. Like we could see the real work. He's like stressed. He's trying to bring people together,
Running here and
calling people
there.
to be at some
Mhm.
place or talking to the organizers, and he's like, "Oh, I didn't even have a shower yet." Like,
Yes.
you could see the pain of an organizer.
Yes. And again, not to take away from Danny and Nia,
Yeah.
even though we were saying earlier that like it didn't feel like they were doing enough to paint this trip as their own. Whatever. Like the logistics of making that moment happen. Again, that unexpected challenge of getting Kristen to shower and stuff. Like I can imagine how emotionally, mentally taxing that is. And it sounds like Kauai was also like physically draining with just how hot it was.
I said that because a lot of people later in the show said that they are not involved enough, they are not asked to join in the thing and contribute or something like that. But that's what I'm saying. Like you could have chipped in on your own.
Yes.
It doesn't have to somebody to call you and delegate task and then only you will be.
Yeah, like the way that Jesse was like, oh my
Like
god,
even
what
Jasmine,
would be
like
romantic? Yeah.
was like, okay, you didn't make me involved enough. Now you're giving me this task of blowing balloons or something like that. She was pissed about it or something like
Yeah,
that.
again in the after show, which we weren't able to revisit, but yeah.
I don't understand why people complaining.
There was like different levels of hard with getting this event together. We see Brittany and she gets a call from Zack to let her know that this dinner is now an engagement celebration, and Brittany is happy but also feels left out. Jason is like hovering and he can overhear, and then he goes to tell Janet and Michelle. Janet wants to confirm, and so she calls Zack. Janet says that she feels like maybe Jason and her shouldn't come to the dinner. Zack clarifies that he doesn't want her to think that he is excluding her. He got shirts with Kristen and Luke's faces on it, and he doesn't think that they need to wear that, but it is like an open space for dinner, and so he thinks it would be a good idea for them to go to dinner to show that they want to work on things. But Janet thinks that it's best that she's not there. Meanwhile, throughout this whole phone conversation, we see Jason listening to all of this in the background. It feels like he is trying to convince himself that not going is indeed for the best, but it just feels like he's in a low mood, and I may be projecting here, but it feels like he is regretting not being part of this in any way. Not necessarily the planning part of it, but the celebration now, like they're not able to join this dinner, and we see that there's this tension between Janet and Jason. Janet and Jason go to tell Brittany that they're not joining the dinner, and they're likely not going to join tomorrow's dinner as well, because according to Janet, if we're going to be excluded from one thing, she's not going to join the other thing. And Jason has to correct her and say, we're not being excluded. And Brittany feels weird, and she vocalizes that, to be hearing all of this happening, and it's just like chaotic trying to understand what's happening. And it's also interesting how quickly Janet is able to rewrite history in that moment. She is the one who called Zack, said it's best that we don't join, and now she's saying we've been excluded.
The script flipped.
Yeah. And Brittany is seeing this debate. And so later on, spoilers, I guess, like she also repeats that Janet has been excluded, but you are literally a fucking party to this. Like you see what's going on, and this is what happens. I think this is why it's hard to also like be on Janet's side, because there's all of these like unreliable narrators here who are saying one thing, but I am witnessing and hearing different things.
And she very strategically used their testimonials, let's say, and used them as like, oh, Jason heard about this and Brittany also heard about this, you can ask this. So she makes it more believable by citing these testimonials of these people who are actually hearing a wrong narrative from her and just repeating it like sheep. Right?
And this is very much jumping into episode 13. But yes, what do you make of Jason? Like in this moment, am I projecting? Do you think that like he is feeling the regret of how they've gone to this place and now potentially they're missing out on this engagement party? Because he is telling Janet, like, don't talk about this thing and tomorrow and how we may not be going. Like, I don't like that, like, you're kind of like making decisions without consulting me or something. So it doesn't seem like they're on the same page here. And his eyes, like, I just don't know. Like, when I see Jason's eyes sometimes, I'm just like, you don't seem happy. It doesn't seem like you want to be missing out on these things. It doesn't seem like you want to be in a bad place with people in this friend group.
We all could see that somewhere down the line, Jason understood that it is very hard to have his own narrative in this show unless specifically approved by Janet. The whole thing is specifically approved by Janet. Like, it's very hard for Jason to speak his own mind because he's between a rock and a hard place. A rock being his wife and hard place being the truth. Like, he can't really, right? I think he's doing what any ideal husband who cares for his family and baby and wife should do, because there is no way around Janet. Okay, calling her out like that is okay as long as you're a friend, because like, okay, fine, I'm not gonna talk to her or something like that, but you can't do it as a husband, right? So I could understand that it's too hard and tough, and he has to be very calculative in what he's going to fight and what not. So I don't think he's able to have his own narrative in the show without the influence of Janet, and I don't see any way out for him here.
Yeah, I agree.
And he can't even acknowledge this publicly. That's the saddest part.
Yeah, I mean, okay, we're obviously speculating here, but like this is our read, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so we end the episode with most of the group gathering in Kristen and Luke's room, I believe, and they are surprising them and saying congratulations, and it is again a truly beautiful moment. And speaking as an audience member who obviously is not there, it seems like the vibe is genuinely excited and happy and positive, and Janet was not that mood. Maybe it really is for the best that she's not there with Jason. Luke asks everyone not to post on social media so that he and Kristen can have the chance to share the news with their loved ones first. And yeah, so again, want to give it up to Zack. Obviously, Danny and Nia were doing a lot today to orchestrate things, but Zack and the event planning, the group coordination, he's literally the last to shower and handing out these t-shirts, and he is an amazing friend.
Agreed.
Moving on to now the most recent episode. We ended on such a positive note in the last episode, but going into episode 13, it was just not the same. They're now like gathering around at like the dinner downstairs, and they're talking about Janet's absence, and they are acting like she was excluded when she is the one who chose not to join. Again, Brittany, for some reason, is not cognizant enough to just say this directly and firmly and to correct the narrative that is unfolding in front of us. She was in that room. She shares the room with Janet. She was there. She was witnessing that. She acknowledged that it was awkward. If she was just more assertive in that moment and said that that is not what happened, Janet and Jason had a whole back and forth because Janet did not want to come, I would respect her more.
True.
But she is feeling a little butthurt to not have known and been part of the engagement planning. And so she is being a bit of like a negative Nancy. Janet for sure would have been a wet blanket here in this moment. And then Jasmine is also not helping. She's looking for Danny and Nia, and she's throwing comments out there about how they're probably napping. And it's just so unfair, and it's not a good look. And, I think about what will it be like for Kristen and Luke to watch this episode and think it was all great, but then see how these people were like resenting.
Yeah, so that's what I said in our previous podcast, that they pretend to be friendly and to like bury the hatchet and like we are all good from now on, but still they carry that baggage with them. They pretend that it's all goody goody after this, but no, a little provocation and it comes out.
Yeah.
If Jasmine has truly moved on, she would have never commented on it like this.
Yeah. Then Brittany is saying if people aren't going to be accountable, then she's just going to leave.
Wow.
I'm just like, what the hell do you mean you're going to leave? Like, aren't you here for your friend's engagement celebration? You're bummed you missed the planning and now you're gonna miss the celebration? I have been, I feel like, pretty like forgiving towards her because of everything that she's going through this season. But Kristen has been here for her, has been so vocal and has stood up for her, and she can't have this night to just be happy for Kristen. It was infuriating. Zack should not have to tell Brittany how to act.
Exactly.
Like, this should be natural for her to be happy for her best friend. Nia and Danny are late to arrive to the dinner. They do arrive after Kristen and Luke, and Jasmine is for some reason bothered by this. We do also see that Aaron is late to arrive even after Nia and Danny.
Yeah.
So look, I know that people have talked about the double standard, and I'm just gonna point out, like, Aaron is not part of the main cast, so I think that's why things are different for him. So I don't think he needs to be attacked for being late. He literally is not paid to be here, okay?
Yeah.
But with Danny and Nia, I don't really get it. They were on the boat with Kristen and Luke. They were doing their part, so they are also doing their job and filming this show. Zack talks to Danny and Nia, and he lets them know that there's a lot of resentment against them and they need to have some conversations, and it's not too much detail, but they do ask for specific names, and Zack says Brittany and Jasmine, and the camera pans to them and they clearly heard their names, but it's unclear to me if they know that it was Zack, Nia, and Danny who were talking about them. Danny is feeling it and Nia has to talk him down and just be like, don't let them take your piece.
Yeah.
Everyone wraps up for the night and most of the group ends up at Brittany's suite with just a door or like a wall separating them from Janet and Jason's room. And we know that Janet is indeed awake, but she doesn't join and she goes to bed with Jason. And I guess, what would have been the point of going out there in that moment? Like, what does Janet really have to gain from that? But yeah, it's just, it was really frustrating to see that. Like, it was such a high coming from the last episode and so much negative energy here. And the next morning, Kristen and Luke are still in bed and Kristen sees a congrats text from Jax. And we also see Jesse telling Zack and Benji that Jax has shared this news in the boys chat, and this is exactly what Luke and Kristen did not want.
Yeah.
So Kristen calls up Brittany, and Brittany says that she is the one who told Jax, and she is completely surprised that Jax is sharing this on the boys chat, and she feels bad. Kristen is like, Brittany should know better about how Jax wouldn't keep this a secret. Like, they have been married for how many years, and she should know. We do also catch up with Jason and Janet, who are talking about how it's weird and they don't know what to do, and Janet just insists that it was the best thing for all of them, for her to just remove herself from that situation and just be absent, and their absence was actually a gift.
So that she can enjoy her function in peace.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you think? Like, what do you think is actually the best move? Because I've seen people supporting that, like, it was good for her to not be there. I've also seen some people say that, like, no, she should go. Otherwise, she's kind of taking away from that moment.
To be honest, how things ended in El Coyote, she has every reason to be worried about it.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just scream at people and then just go that, hey, congratulations, I'm happy for you. You have to settle things first before you can move forward. And she hasn't done that yet. She was very much sure that there will be some confrontation about that the moment she's going to attempt anything. So she was building up. I'm sure that she knew that it is going to burst and she was just basically building up.
I suppose, but I'm like wondering, could she have just shared a text and be like, I know we're not in a good place, I'm still happy for you and congrats. At the same time, I truly don't think she actually is happy for them. And why would she? Like, Kristen is repeating these rumors about Jason, even though Kristen herself does not believe them. Kristen is now having this amazing Hawaii trip, and it's bigger in every way than the baby moon that Jason and Janet hosted last year. Kristen is winning, and I wonder if Janet is thinking about that, like the larger audience and the show. Again, maybe if Janet just said that openly, I would like her more, because that is an experience that a lot of people can get behind, that she doesn't deserve more than a text. But this wishy-washy of like, I'm happy for her, I don't know what to do, and blah, 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 especially in light of what we see in this episode, it feels more of an act to save face face for the show rather than act for the friendship. And if you are done with the friendship and you don't want to move forward with Kristen, that's fine. Don't play fake. Like, I'm happy and we don't know. You don't like her. Fine. Well warranted here, okay? I don't know. Like, I don't think that, like, what she's doing is motivated by what she feels other than, like, how is she supposed to win the audience or something.
Definitely her actions could have act like this, the way you said, like a simple text of congratulations or things like that could have acted as a band-aid which would have saved the trip, like the boat thing that happened later on in the show. But there is a lack of intent over here. Like, she doesn't want to bow down.
We then have Brittany and Kristen sitting down for a talk. Brittany says that, again, she is sorry for telling Jax about the engagement. She's explaining what happened and what she was feeling, and that Jax was her person for so long. Maybe she kind of just forgot. But Kristen is upset.
And she has very much, like, every reason to be.
It's no secret that Jax has a big mouth. Like, Kristen feels like the struggle. It's like she can't be mad at Brittany, but she feels it and she feels disappointed. Then to add to this, it's even more difficult for Kristen because she already wanted to address another thing with Brittany that made her upset. And now to have this spilling the secret to Jax on the plate, it's like Kristen is now having to pile things on. Kristen is unhappy and she's hoping that Brittany is going to appreciate this moment of honesty. And yeah, so Kristen is unhappy with how things went down at El Coyote with Janet getting involved and yelling at her, and all Brittany could really say was, Janet, come on. Kristen has mentioned this before. If it were the other way around with Kristen yelling at Janet, Brittany would be more vocal. She couldn't have been like Janet, you can't say certain things about my friend Kristen or something. And Brittany says that, Kristen means the world to her and she's sorry if Kristen doesn't feel that she's sticking up for her, but she knows that Kristen is a strong person and like can stand up for herself, and she can definitely and should definitely stand up for
But that
Kristen.
sounded like a lot of bullshit, to be honest. Nobody gets aggressive on Brittany because she never retaliates and she always surrenders and I did it out of foolishness or something like that. So it's very hard for you to get mad at somebody who is like surrendering to you, right? Basically that's how she gets away from such tight spots.
Yeah, that's really hard. Like, I still feel it. Like, there were still consequences to this, but you're owning it, and
yeah, it is going to cost you friendship of people. Like, people can give you grace for how long they can.
Yeah,
you lose your chances at the end of the day.
I'm wondering if we're seeing kind of like Kristen reaching the end of her rope, or there might still be some rope there, guys, but like she's nearing the end somewhere. And Brittany's confessional, she says that both Janet and Kristen have her trust and that they have both been there for her, and that she is, she's friends with both of them, and she doesn't feel like she should need to pick or choose between them. Yeah, what do you think of that?
Yeah, we have to wait and see how the show progresses and what all events are adding on to the make. But right now, I still have hope that she'll be able to see the right side of things and make the right judgment and see how, although Janet says that she's fighting for her friends, but how she utilizes these situations for her own footage, I would say.
I don't know. I'm like struggling. Kristen in her professional is like, come on, Brittany, it's Janet, use your brain. I only know what it is that we see in this show or in the after show. Kristen, Zack, and Jasmine have all talked about how Janet could talk shit about Kristen and Tex, and Brittany doesn't really say anything. And then Brittany in that confessional, she says that she doesn't have to choose, right? It just seems weak because you don't need to pick and choose. You should just be able to call
Make the
out.
Right decision.
Well, just to call out when someone is going too far with how they talk about a mutual friend. I don't think that is picking and choosing. It's just like, oh my god, why are you saying such horrible things about a friend?
Use your own goddamned moral compass.
I don't know, like, if she has a good one. I don't know if she has a good sense of judgment. We're gonna see this honestly with like Zack later, because he has a moment on the boat where he's talking to Brittany, and like I feel conflicted about that too. But it feels like she's maybe too naive and doesn't recognize these things in other people, and so it all sounds mean to say this, okay? I recognize it sounds mean, but I just don't feel like it's clicking for her. And that's another thing of like, how do you be friends with someone who doesn't recognize like why these things matter, like how these things are wrong or how these things are different, how there's nuance there.
See, if you have this kind of mindset, the end result, the end game is you're going to lose out genuine true friends on a long run.
I mean, for Brittany though, is she gonna recognize one true true friend for another? Like, does she recognize that? Like, what makes a true, genuine friend? Like, if Janet is equal to Kristen or Zack, okay, I'm a huge Zack fan, okay? Like, the kind of friend that he is, the way that he will plan events and the way that he is there, the way that he can tell things to you straight and say it to you in hopefully a loving, caring way. Not everyone is able to do that, okay? Not everyone is able to be that kind of friend. How do you, I hate this, like comparing like friendships. I hate the whole like, oh, who's a bigger best friend in your life, this person or that? But you have to recognize like the value that this person brings to your life. And I don't know, maybe I'm just like a Janet hater, but I don't feel like she's a good friend as opposed to Kristen and Zack.
True.
Okay, so now we are at our major event, the boat trip with everyone, and I know it's a super luxurious experience, but there are a lot of people who are struggling with seasickness, and like I'm just gonna preface that for this event because I think there's a lot of people who were just not in the right mindset to be operating in this scene because of that, and I'm sympathetic to that, getting nauseous and stuff, and how like I just want to shut down, I don't want to do anything, I kind of want to sleep it off, or I don't want them talking to me because my mind is already like fucked up.
It's kind of the last day of the trip, last night of the trip, and vacations can take a toll on you when you have
That's
a lot
true,
of
too.
things, activities planned right after one another, right? So yeah, we could see a lot of people exhausted.
Seasick.
Yeah.
Throughout the day, there's fancy food and drinks for the group. Even though Janet has friends at the larger table where most of the food and people are, she decides to sit in a corner with just Jason. And truly, I cannot tell if that's a good or bad call. Brittany is talking about how she feels bad that Janet feels like she needs to stay away from the larger group and that she's feeling awkward because she wasn't allowed to be at the dinner the night before. And that's not even true. So again, Brittany is participating in this rewriting of history that makes Janet look like the sympathetic person. You were fucking there. You are a direct witness. If you were in court, you would have perjured yourself. And I know we're talking a lot like legal terms here, but it's because that does come up later in this episode. If we're getting to that point where we're relying on these witnesses, they are unreliable. They have perjured themselves. There's
Zack
hearsay.
called Brittany and told her about everything, about Luke proposing to Kristen on the boat, Jason overhearing it, eavesdropping, and went to Janet and said that this is the thing, what should we do? Janet said we are going to remove ourselves from this situation as a gift to Kristen, called Zack, told that I'm voluntarily not going to appear there because things are not good between me and Kristen. That's it. That's the whole and the only truth.
Yes. Zack talks to Brittany and he calls her out for telling Jax about the engagement. Again, Brittany has her excuses, but she repeats that she regrets it and that she's disappointed in herself. We've already covered this, but Brittany also needs to be held accountable, and it feels like she just needs to be handled with gloves sometimes. But yeah, like Zack is just questioning her and just like, are you backsliding? Like at some point the night before, he learned that just the situation that Brittany left at home with Jax having visitation with crews and stuff. And part of me feels conflicted with this moment because he is very direct about like his judgments here and like, oh my God, Brittany, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. And again, I'm not a parent, so it's like hard to comment on that, but he feels so freely in doing that. So one, that could be like, we are such good friends, I know so much about you that I can comment here. Two, it's also like, I'm sorry, you lack a lot of critical thinking skills, and so I'm here to help you out, and like this is what needs to happen. This isn't like change things necessarily, like I still like Zack as a person, but it just tells me more about Brittany and just like, yeah, just the kind of person she is. And I don't think I could be friends with someone like Brittany more than just like surface level, because I wouldn't be able to trust her and her judgment. Michelle and Janet then pull away, and Michelle says that she was talking to Zack earlier and he said that with the Jenna thing, he was sorry, but he thinks that other people play a role in all of this. Sheena and Janet have talked about it, and they are the ones who are making it more of a thing. I mean, at this point, all of them are actually culpable with talking about Jenna, but I do think the act of bringing her around is more so on Sheena and Jasmine. I don't think we really got clarity on like what Michelle believes about the situation, but they ask Zack to come down and join them. Zack asked Kristen to come with him.
For moral support.
Yeah. And they are both talking at the same time, clarifying that they've been friends for a while with Jenna, and Zack met her through Sheena, who literally refers to Jenna as her best friend, and Sheena is responsible for all of this. But yeah, again, I hate that Sheena is like really such a key element in all of this, because she is doing a great job of just creating space for herself in the show, potentially. It's so messy, and I just wonder if, like, with how messy it is, and how we're not getting clarity on what they believe. Like, is this real mess? Is it just for the show? Is this safe drama? Because at some point when Kristen is talking about this, she talks about how she was looking at Michelle reading her lips at El Coyote, and Michelle's lips were saying, "I'm not mad at you." But it's like, we're talking about this on TV because this is drama. I don't know how to take this. But things are escalating from here. Kristen then addresses Janet and says, "You've been up my ass all summer saying that you want to repair things, but then you're screaming at me, at El Coyote." And then Janet says that, "Yes, I did want to repair things, but things changed after you brought up the ring rumor." Kristen says that they had resolved that at the shark party, and Janet just defends Jason and says that he's this upstanding, trustworthy, committed man. Kristen does not disagree, but she is motioning for Janet to wrap it up, and Janet says to stop doing that and it's rude. Kristen says that she didn't accuse Jason of anything, she just repeated because Janet was attacking Danny and Nia. Janet is just like, "Oh, well, sorry, like I said that, but Danny actually Melissa."
Whoa.
It is a heavy term to use. Kristen in her confessional points out that Janet's story is just escalating. First he was drunk and a little inappropriate, and now she's calling it assault. And yeah, this just sets Kristen off and she walks away. So I'm curious what you think of everything here.
So you could see that Janet is very much in a mood to escalate things. Like, she's not backing down anytime soon. She's adding new narratives in every confrontation to fan this fire more and more. I don't see she anytime backing down. Although we have the way we saw in the start of this Hawaii trip that Jason and Danny are like, "Okay, we are going to have a good time here. Let's talk it out. And it's not us. Our wives also have to talk it out and just enjoy this trip the way we deserve it," and stuff like that, because we are getting time out from our kids and stuff like that. They both have parents and they have added responsibilities, which understandable. So, but see, they shook hands. They're like, "Okay, we are good, we're chill," and this and that. But still, she's still carrying that, and she's adding more payload to it to increase the
The impact, the
impact.
damage.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And another point is like you talking and adding payload to a thing where you're not directly involved at all, and being in Danny and Jasmine's shoes, like I have to think in both ways, right? It feels like somebody's talking about me and I'm not even there. Neither Danny was present over there, neither Jasmine was present over there. But Kristen was no party to this. Janet was no party to this. Are talking about this, and their personal enmity on the base of other people is very repulsive to me. You're fighting wars, you don't like each other, but the point on the basis of which you're fighting is on the expense of two completely different people who are actually being slaughtered because of this. You understand my point? You're fighting a war which you have no stake on. If anybody has to define what happened that day, has the right to, is Melissa and Jasmine. That's it. It should start and stop right over there.
Yeah.
So it's very repulsive to see these two people fighting over something which they have no party to.
Yeah,
and throwing random terms here and there, trying to be all
explosive. Yeah,
academic and legal, like, okay, this is a broad term, this also fits into this and that, and like, okay, assault, this can be defined by definition or this and that. That doesn't make you look intelligent. Sorry.
I mean, this all makes me feel really uncomfortable because we are talking about legal terms and neither of us are really qualified to speak about that. At the same time, what we're hearing is, with the technicalities of the law, it's different from the general understanding of these terms, like of SA. Like, the general understanding is not the broad definition that Zack and Jasmine discussed in the after show, but it is inappropriate. And so it's really uncomfortable watching this. It's really uncomfortable hearing this. I'm gonna proceed with kind of describing the rest of this episode, and we'll kind of get back to this. But Kristen has stormed off. Jason is getting an update on the whole situation. Kristen is owning up to spreading this rumor that, again, she did not ever believe. At the same time, Zack is asking Danny if he wants to talk to Jason to ask about a comment that Jason made about Danny. And apparently at some event with fans, Danny was making some women feel uncomfortable. Jason pulled him away and was like, "Hey, you have a wife, you have kids, do not do this." And Danny's reply was, was, Nia will always be up here, but I have a weakness for hot girls in little skirts. Zack responds that he didn't hear that on the boat when Danny asked Jason about it. He says that he didn't hear it, and eyewitnesses like Jared and Brittany said it to Janet. By this point, Janet has rejoined the larger group and she says, I hate that this is being brought up again, but Kristen essentially brought it up and should she just not say anything? And it's not fair for them to get mad at her for using these words. She's sorry that she had to say what happened, but she doesn't want to be fighting with them and she actually does like them. And Danny and Nia are walking away and they're saying, then why keep bringing this up? Kristen says you don't get to speak for Melissa and Jasmine. And it's just this loud and continuous back and forth. And finally, Melissa says, please stop talking about me and Jasmine. Jason says, why are we protecting the wrong people here? And Zack says, nobody is protecting anybody. We just want the truth. So yeah, again, like it is uncomfortable to say this about Danny, who is overall a likable guy. At the same time, I do think there's some validity to the idea that Janet is using this as a weapon. It's not her experience. She's speaking on it and framing it in a specific way. At the same time, she goes and says that she likes Danny and Nia and doesn't want to be fighting with them. But if you think so lowly of Danny, why would you even want to be friends with him? It just doesn't read as authentic. It does feel like her story is changing and she just wants to like essentially win at the cost of these two people. We've said this before. What Danny did was inappropriate. It is difficult to associate SA with that experience. Neither Jasmine nor Melissa have used that term, but I don't want to take that away from anyone else because there are moments where I see someone getting handsy with a woman and I think, oh my god, that's fucking disgusting. In some ways, like this has already been handled by the people who are involved, and so having them talk about it and go on about it, I am not a fan of it. Yeah.
And Melissa stood up and she was like, please do not bring us into the discussion. And I can completely resonate with her. I can fight my own wars.
Yeah, I don't know. What do we think of Janet at this point? Like, is she...
There's no way to really judge the situation because none of this happened in front of camera for us to have our own take on this, right? We're relying solely on the narratives of people, and I'm not getting any credible narrative from anyone who can just say that yes, I have seen this has happened, apart from Janet.
True. Like we were just saying, like if they were to put this in a courtroom, like we're hearing about these witnesses and they're dropping like flies. Like we're hearing, oh no, I'm retracting that wasn't me, someone else said that. It goes back to Jared, who is not a main cast, who is not able to speak on this. Maybe that's coming up in a future episode, but like the people that we know in this cast are not confirming that they've heard it.
Yeah, so how am I supposed to believe Janet?
Yeah,
she has no credible backing.
And we have seen her rewrite history. Yeah. And so her word just means very little to me at this point. It's hard to be on her side.
Yes.
Anyways, that is the end of this episode. We did catch up a little bit with Jax, and he seems to be wanting to, I don't know, make things work. So with Brittany, we know from Zack and Brittany's discussion on the boat that if they need to sign divorce papers, Brittany is still going to sign that. So yeah, we'll see what happens there. But oh my god, it was interesting actually because Schwartz was saying, oh my god, like if you like moved back into the house with Brittany, I feel like you'd end up in jail. So I feel like that's really telling, honestly, like that Schwartz feels that about Jack.
Tom has been on point on advices that he's soliciting to Jax, like they're on point. Someone who has gone through similar situations, although not that severe and without a child in the mix, but he has good experience. Like he has learned his lessons, I would say. Like, and I think he's a good influence right now.
You know, we're not getting a lot from Schwartz right now, and I definitely was not into him in Vanderpump Rules when he was not really signing up for Katie. I think maybe if I were able to see him with Katie and their dynamic, I would get a better sense of like how much he's changed, but it does feel like Scandival and that whole thing just took a toll on him, and so he's very upfront about like what is good, what's not okay, and I've so far been on his side.
Yeah, he's never been this vocal before. I've never seen him speak with this clarity before.
Yeah. Anyways, sorry it took so long to get this episode out, guys. Work is a lot. Thank you guys for tuning in. Leave a comment, and even if you need to use an alias or a burner account, we'd love to hear from you. And that's a wrap on today's episode of B-Side Reality.
Thanks for hanging out with us. We had a blast breaking it all down.
If you enjoyed the convo, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
See you soon with a brand new episode. Bye.
Bye.